Political issues. If you took all the deception and fraud out of politics, there might not be a lot left. Nor is this peculiar to our own country or our time. Back in 18th century England, Adam Smith referred to that insidious and crafty animal, vulgarly called a statesman or politician, whose counsels are directed by the momentary fluctuations of affairs. Yet large segments of the public, across the political spectrum, continue to look to political messiahs for solutions to our problems. To understand political issues, you have to understand the incentives facing the politicians who frame those issues and craft solutions. To expect politicians to put the public interest above their own personal interests is to defy thousands of years of history in countries around the world.
And that's one thing I want to kind of focus on is the timeless wisdom that we can learn from history in the past, right? And I think the greatest America that we can have, because right now America's being dismantled right now because we look at politicians as leaders instead of as just representatives. They represent an idea that the voting base wants to push forward, right? And that's how I tend to think about politics. I don't look at politicians as saviors, as leaders. I just see them as an extension of something that I want done, and they merely represent me and in that effort, right? So I think as Americans, I think one of the biggest paradigm shift that needs to kind of spread in our politics is voters need to be more skeptical of their politicians as a whole. Because I think voters right now, we're too, I say partisan, too tribal, I guess, because we no longer have a unifying foundation as voters anymore, right? Before in the past, you can find voters being like, oh, I'm a Reagan Democrat, right? You don't have people like that anymore in today's modern politics. I think people are pushing more for, I think people lost the concept of politics. I think politics should be about solving problems, right? Hey, whatever solution has a higher probability of fixing it, we'll try it. Hey, bad ideas, cut our losses. But that's not how politics goes. Politics is this game of smoke and mirrors where they want to give the illusion that they're doing something, when in reality, they're only delaying the inevitable, where they're kicking the can down the road, essentially, to make good on things that benefit them right now. Oh, I want to get re-election. Hey, this Social Security stuff is not maintainable, but if I go against it, if I try to solve it now, I'm gonna lose my seat. So I'm gonna pass it forward, pay it anyway, and kick the can down the road so some other Congress can worry about this problem. And this is the cycle that we're caught up in right now in American politics. Right? This is what happened with the defense bill. Oh, we only got a month left before government shutdown again. And government shutdown is going to look bad on us. So we're going to make compromises that effectively kind of keep us at the same spot we've always been. It's just we kick the can down the road another year, or we kick the problems down to another Congress. And currently, politics is not set up to actually solve problems for the long term. And I think currently, if we want to see a change in politics, and it starts right now. Like right now, I know people are complaining about the defense bill, and I see issues with it as well. I see that in the future going forward, let's try to weed out politicians that would pass a defense bill at the expense of its citizenry, its people, right? And in the future, we create an America that's vigilant and watchful and skeptical of the government. Therefore, the government actually has to do right by the people and not by themselves or their political tribe. I think that's the solution I think a lot of Americans can agree to, but I digress. Let's get back into the video.
Exceptional leaders in exceptional times may put the nation's well-being ahead of their own interests. But to bet the survival of a nation on having an unbroken succession of exceptional leaders would be one of the most reckless gambles imaginable. In a democracy especially, an informed and skeptical citizenry is a crucial bulwark against the short-sighted political expediency which remains as much the norm among crafty politicians today as it was in Adam Smith's time. One of the trends that can become part of a perfect storm of disasters for American society has been a decades-long dumbing down of education, producing a citizenry poorly equipped to see through political rhetoric, and even more poorly supplied with facts and the ability to analyze opposing arguments.
Yep, I agree with that synopsis, and I think that's one of the biggest issues. There's a concept called rational ignorance, where the effort it takes to learn the information, many people can logically conclude it's not worth me learning this stuff, so I'm not going to take time to learn it. And politics tend to fall under this concept, this category, because in our American schools we have not done a good job, how you say it, teaching civics, understanding politics and government, because it relies a lot on the teacher themselves to actually teach this information. And I think this is the kind of thing that I think parents could start taking more ownership of. I want to start a culture where, oh, you don't learn civics, you don't learn much civics in high school and college, and not college. If you were a political science major, you learn about government. But in high school, you don't learn it much. Hey, that should be something like we should incentivize in our American culture, just like we incentivize cultural trends, like what's a cultural trend that I can think of in the top of my head? Gentle parenting, right? We can push that. How about we start pushing trends about, hey, teaching your kids civics from your perspective? Why can't we start a trend like that? And this is the kind of things I want to kind of focus with politics. I kind of look at politics from a solutions point of view, not I'm just trying to get my guy to win. I believe my guy has the better opportunity. No, sorry, the better idea to solve said problems. I agree with that. I believe my political philosophy is better equipped to fixing the issues and problems that we have today. I agree with that. The problem is that it fixes things in the long term, not in the short term. In the short term, people want what's expedient for them. And for ignorant people, for people that think fast, for a reactionary culture that is America, because America has become a reactionary culture. All you have to do is look at TikTok, right? We react to trends. We give our opinion. We do this. We don't properly think things through from a long-term perspective and see the long-term ramifications for caving into something expedient today, right? And I noticed this too. Like, we have a problem with delayed gratification. So when someone gives us a promise, oh, we're going to give you change now, we're going to promise you reparations, even though reparations is not possible. But the fact someone sold you the idea, and if it feels an immediate need or a perceived need, you go ahead and you give your vote to the candidate that promised you reparations. And then 4 years later, oh, we tried. Yeah, they're going to try to get reparations, but they can't get you reparations because it's only an idea that's popular with the Democratic Party. It's not popular with independents. It's not popular with Republicans, because people ain't going to pay people who never been slaves and people who never been slave owners. They don't want to pay. They don't want to pay. They had nothing to do with slavery. You had nothing to do with slavery. The only thing you got going for you is that you might be a descendant of a slave. We have no way of vetting that you are actually a descendant of a slave. You just know you're a multi-generational American, so you claim you're a descendant of slaves. Like, it's just baffling to me that a lot of people put their own individual needs at the expense of the country, the society, and the culture. And I think that too many of us are doing that right now, to the point where it's so easy. This is why they say divide and conquer. This is why they say the government divide people on racial groups. And this is why I think victimhood, this is the real I think this is the real reason why identity politics is pushed on us so heavily, is because they want white people bickering with black people. They want straight people bickering with homosexual people, transgender people bickering with gay people. One side thinks gender is fluid. One people think, no, it's hardwired in you. I was born this way, right? But I chose to be this way, right? All this is because it takes attention away from what the government is doing. And I think that's the biggest political issue of our time, is that America needs to stand united. America needs to have a common interest, a common goal. And I think that's been deteriorated because the powers that be, the Hollywood, they put this perception that, oh, multiculturalism. And all it did was, okay, you're saying multiculturalism. You fragmented all of America into separate cultures where they no longer have a shared unified foundation. And I think that's the biggest problem that America faces right now. This is why I like Vivek so much when he talks about national identity, because I think that's the key of turning the country back and actually finding candidates, politicians, and solutions that will actually create some change in America. But I think it's going to be a long-term fix, not a short-term fix. And I think in the short term, we'll be suffering a lot. We'll have to make a lot of sacrifices if we want to get a better tomorrow. But I think it's worth it. But what we're going through right now is a lot of people are not having kids. So now a lot of Americans are not thinking about the future. They're thinking about what they can get right now. And they don't care. Oh, I get reparations. It doesn't matter in 20 years. We bankrupt the country. As long as I get my reparations, I'm good. And this is the kind of short-term thinking that politicians use against voters to stay in power, get what they want, and then they fleece the government. They fleece the voters. Then they stay in power and control. So I do believe that America has been intentionally dumbed down so politicians can pull the wool over many voters' eyes. That's why I say most voters, majority of voters are politically low information voters. I'll say that's the majority. I think only a minority are highly knowledgeable or moderately knowledgeable about politics. And my job, I think, in 2024 is I want to create more politically informed voters, regardless of political affiliation, to the point where they can debate me on my topics, regardless if they agree with me or not. I think that's the future that I am envisioning, but maybe I'm being too optimistic about that. I can't really change much in a year, but that's the attempt here. But I digress. Let's get back into the video. I've been ranting too long.
I don't have to worry about putting gas in my car. I don't have to worry about paying my mortgage. You know, if I help him, he's going to help me.
Thousands of students graduate each year from even the most prestigious schools and
imagine thinking that someone could help you pay your mortgage. That's not the government's job. The government is a referee. That's my view. That's my political view. The government is a referee. You don't come in and expect the referee to help you make your free throws, help you make your shots, call fouls on your behalf. You're asking for a rigged system, and that's not a fair system. The worst thing the government can say is, I'm here to help. But, you know, people, I need my immediate needs. If you promise me this, you got my vote. And this is what politicians prey on. I digress.
colleges in the country, with no real knowledge of history and no real analytical skills at dissecting opposing views. It was once the proud boast of educators that we are here to teach you how to think, not what to think. But today, all too many educators see the classroom as a golden opportunity for them to indoctrinate a captive audience.
Or transmit their values, right? And that's what I want to bring back in YouTube. I want to bring back people. I'm not going to tell you what to think. I'm not even going to teach you how to think. You come to your own conclusions. I'm giving you what I think, right? And I'm trying to advocate. I'm coming from more from an advocacy point of view of, hey, this is a conservative thing. This is why I think it's good. Yeah, I'm just making arguments on what I believe to be true. And for too long, and that's why I pointed out with the problem with the education system is that the Department of Education, a lot of these bureaus in the administrative state, they're overrun by Democrats. I think about 93%. Give me the department. Give me the Department of Justice, Education. Most of the people that work in those government jobs, those administrative jobs in the bureaus, overwhelmingly Democrat. 93% Democrat. They donate Democrat. So you don't think they're trying to slip into the curriculum their values, try to teach people to have a worldview that leans towards them? This is why that's why I like Vivek. Cut the FBI. Abolish the Department of Education. FBI go bye-bye, because these are becoming partisan political tools to use against the political opposition of the day. And it don't matter who's the president, these administrative states are still overwhelmingly Democrat. So the only logical conclusion, in my view, is to abolish them, cut them off. Because the only way this would be something if it's a bureaucratic, if it's an administrative state like the FBI, excuse me, I think it should be mandatory that the FBI is politically partisan. No, so bipartisan, sorry. That means it's 50-50. It can't be overwhelmingly one side or overwhelmingly the other. Because I think this is where you get in these power trips where you got Merrick Garland? No. Merrick Garland. Sorry, that's how you say his name. Pretending he don't know that his FBI agents is going after Catholics. He plays dumb, like, oh, I don't know. The Homeland Security guy. Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not aware of that. But you're the director. You're the head of the whole Homeland Security. You're not aware of what's going on? You're neglecting your duties then, because they want to push their political agenda. Political bias is a big thing that I think we need to worry about in the government. And I think our government is not really worried about solving problems for America because they know Americans are not paying attention to actually hold them accountable for that. And I think until that change, I think it's going to keep going. It's going to continue happening. But I digress. Let's get back.
The specifics of their indoctrination are not the biggest problem, quite aside from the merits or demerits of the specific indoctrination, whether global warming or the new trinity of race, class, and gender. What the indoctrination process does is get students used to hearing one side of issues and being urged to reach conclusions and act on that grossly inadequate basis. Such an education sets them up to become victims of the next skilled demagogue who comes along and who knows what kinds of rhetoric will get them to respond as automatically as Pavlov's dog.
Wow. So the argument here is, and I agree with this argument, is the reason why Democrats hold on so heavily to the teachers' unions, why the teachers' unions hate the fact that conservatives are passing universal school choice in their states, why they hate that parents are pushing for school choice, why they hate the fact that, oh no, you're going to defund government schools, because government schools has been the entity in which they pass down a lot of these values, these ideologies to condition the youth of our future. And this is what socialists have always been doing. The long march to the institution. This is how you radicalize young people. This is how you get young people to support that white people are oppressors at 18 to 24 because they've already been conditioned to come to these conclusions. And you're merely giving them the bait. They've been trained, they've been conditioned to automatically come to these conclusions. Oh, that's not racist. Why? Because you're black. Well, isn't that racist? Oh, no. It's because of racism, years of racism. This is how these college students come to these conclusions. This is how you get media overwhelmingly liberal, journalists overwhelmingly liberal, because they've been conditioned to be this way. And they already come to a certain conclusion, and all they're trying to do is trying to find validation for that conclusion, because that's how they've been taught. Because that's the right answer, right? In school, they don't teach you how to think. They teach you to find the right answer. So when you hear rhetoric, oh, I know what the right answer to this is. Say it with me, systematic racism. If you see a disparity and you see a correlation with race, your automatic conclusion should be because of racism. Not because of, oh, maybe they're doing different actions. Maybe they display different behaviors. Maybe they made different decisions. Maybe their conditions are not quite the same. But no, it's racism. Because of their race. This is why they get denied bank loans more than other white people, regardless of their income. Oh, did you check credit score? Oh, no, that's not a valuable standard to judge the things by. That's not an important standard. Previous history with loans? No, that's not an important standard. You see how they omit facts to fit a narrative? Because they already been taught what the proper conclusion is for these things. And that's the big problem we face in our education system, in our culture, is that we have allowed liberals, progressives, the Democrats to condition the youth to be susceptible to their conclusions, to their prescriptions, to their rhetoric. And we're making a similar comeback online, on social media, but this is why the left loves censorship so much. Because they don't want us to be able to do the same thing that they've been doing for decades. But I digress. Let's get back into the video.
Too often, voting is conceived as some sort of expressive outlet for the voters, rather than as a solemn responsibility to pick the best people to lead the country. The emphasis is on getting as high a voter turnout as possible, even if that means pulling into the process people who have only the most meager knowledge or interest in the issues at hand.
Who is Joe Biden?
Joe Biden? I heard his name. Joe Biden.
Why they gotta do him like that?
Doesn't ring a bell.
Who is Joe Biden?
The secretary, or I don't know.
Secretary of I don't know.
Such people cannot preserve freedom, or perhaps even survival, in the
These are the kind of people that gets duped. That is the average voter. This is why I said the Democrats, they have a majority on the uneducated, low information vote. Because if you look at Hollywood, they push their political ideology. I just showed you the movie, The Magical Negroes. That's what the movie is called. Who pushed that? Liberals. That's in the culture right now. Who's susceptible to the culture? The youth. Hollywood, overwhelmingly liberal. You look at the news, majority of news outlets are liberals. Majority of journalists that report the news are liberal. They vote Democrat. They donate Democrat. The Department of Education people, overwhelmingly Democrat. Teacher unions, overwhelmingly Democrat. So when these people when they push, we want maximum voter turnout. They like to frame it as a good thing. Like, oh my God, you guys are trying to stop people from voting with their rights. While the conservatives say, yo, it's not responsible for low information people to be voting, because then it allows unqualified politicians to win elections. And that's what happened. Demagogues is what we usually call them, right? They don't look at the substance. Okay, can this actually, what's good policies in the past? No. Low information voters care. They're usually one issue voters, or they like to play narratives. That's why they always try to focus on, we got to look presidential. No mean tweets on Twitter. That's what low information voters focus on. And this is what the left try to frame and portray. Oh, he's a bad man. Instead of looking, no, okay, would he help us? Would he help America or hurt America? Our image. You care. These low information voters care about superficial stuff instead of substantive stuff. Hey, was you better under Trump or Biden? How you like those gas prices under Trump over Biden? How you like inflation under Trump versus Biden? Border security. Oh, look, there was not a lot of strain on your social systems because of the stance that Trump take. But people don't think that deeply about things. They focus on the narrative. What's the cool thing to do? And this is what the Democrats leverage. This is why they care about voter turnout, because they know, hey, the odds are in our favor that majority of the people will be Democrat leaning, even if they're a low information voter, because it's culturally cool to vote Democrat. The Rock endorsed them. Cardi B endorsed Joe Biden. Oh, I don't even know who Joe Biden is. I'm not sure if he's the president, statesman. I don't know what he is, but Cardi B said, I got to vote for him. So if I see his name, I'm voting for him. This is how you get sheeple. And this is most of the population, unfortunately. But I digress. Let's continue.
In the face of politicians looking out solely for their advantages of the moment. Not all political leaders are like that, of course. Perhaps the most striking examples to the contrary were the men who created the United States of America and wrote the Constitution. But it is well worth noting that most of these men were not career politicians. They had very different careers that they put aside in order to serve in extraordinary and historic times. We cannot wait for another such remarkable set of leaders and circumstances to come along again, for a whole society can be destroyed from within or without long before there is such an assemblage of leaders again. When Benjamin Franklin was asked what the Constitutional Convention was producing, he replied, "A republic, madam, if you can keep it." Those who wrote the Constitution of the United States understood that a self-governing society was an experiment, and one that was not guaranteed against failure. Generations later, Abraham Lincoln raised the question whether government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. Today, perhaps more so than ever, it is the people who ultimately will provide the answer to that question.
Yep.
And that answer is by no means guaranteed.
Yep. It's a great poetic way to end the video, right? And that is essentially, that's the truth. It's up to us. Like, if we want this place if we want America to stay America, it's up to the people. And the left seems to know this. The progressives always knew this. Repeat a lie often enough, and the people will believe it to be true. So we must repeat the truth often enough until people understand it is true. And I think that's the only way you can fight it. Fire with fire. This is why they censor people, because they don't want this tactic to be used, right? A lie only works if it's repeatedly heard and goes unchallenged. This is why they care about popular opinion, whether instead of worrying about if something's true or not. They worry about, oh, did I convince you of my ideas or not? They don't care if it's true or not. If they lie about Mitt Romney to win the election, that's a win in their eyes. While we care about, is what I'm saying about this candidate true? I'm only going to focus on true and substantive stuff. They don't care about that stuff.